most people that are in business or have their own practices or they're just working and they're just like, going through the cycle, wake up, go to work, come back, go to sleep. What would be like the protocol for us to start? What are like the easiest things? Obviously sleep. Forget about that. Without sleep. I understand it's super important, but so what are the top 3-4 things that will get you at least halfway there? Obviously, we all want to be on the Mediterranean diet. We all want to rest. We want no stress life. We want to sleep, but not a lot of people can do that. It's not realistic. So what are the most bang for your buck things that you can do, at least to start your way?
I would get tested.
Okay. No. 100%. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what are the best things?
Yeah, because then that way you're getting tested. You know what you're trying to do.
What changes will change. You're likely not to have, almost independent of your age, sex, parents, whatever. You're likely to have some elements in this expanded testing capacity for functional medicine testing. So it's, your particular vitamin levels, for instance, obviously your microbiome, which seems to be very, very important. I don't want to get too deep into the type of genetic and epigenetic, but there's testing we do.
Yes.
So you do the testing. Obviously, take a very good intake. And then if you're asking us for the most common kind of, lifestyle-related changes, let's go through that a little bit. So the first thing, we can actually go through a typical day of how we recommend to the typical patient, which, again, we're moving away from the precision stuff. I think it's very important that every person has a functional medicine physician, a longevity plan. Do you know that people spend more time planning their vacation than planning how they want to live the most important part of their lives, So I think you take a minute and you go, this is how I want to live, this sort of the advancing parts of my life. You don't have to be old, just this is how I want to live longer, because remember, it takes 20 years for all these things to develop. So you got to start now, no matter almost what age you are. You got to start now to live properly. So, all right, so let's just kind of go through that for a second and say, you want to go to sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time, irrespective of, this whole, weekend, it really shouldn't matter. Your body doesn't understand weekends so much. It understands circadian rhythm. It understands sunlight. So the first thing you do is, if you can, you get up and you see some sunlight. So there's an idea of like, you open up the drapes and that begins the cortisol. There's reasons that this is not designed for. This is designed to be the man on the street. So I'm not going to get too scientific on you, but the first thing you want to do is get wake up. Try and wake up around the same time. Try and get cortisol. So that could mean like a drape that's on a timer, for instance, and that's. Maybe we'll go back and forth. I don't want to manipulate the conversation too much. So start up with sunlight.
Yes.
What's the next thing you would recommend? The average, typical, Joe human or
water.
Josephina human.
Water. Okay.
First thing in the morning.
First thing.
Cold or warm? Because a lot of people, they say like lukewarm, or like, what's the best?
Well, I think cold water just kind of like shocks, the system. So I think just drinking lukewarm water just kind of eases everything. It's it's not like, oh geez, I just drank a super cold glass of water and my GI tract doesn't know what to
I've
do
heard
with it.
from a lot of people, when you drink water, to put maybe a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Does that do anything at all, or it's like hearsay?
That would person dependent.
Okay, fair enough.
And so that would be like my first steps, is to drink an adequate amount of water in the morning before starting your day.
Okay.
Then if you could exercise.
Well, it's like a lot of people don't necessarily think that's, maybe I want to exercise later in the day. I am 1,000% with you in believing that exercise before I think you have to earn your food.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly, because you're fasted. That's
okay. Fasted exercise, perfect.
Yeah, that's the perfect start to a day.
What type of exercise?
Well, some people just do from like resistance training to like yoga. It really is just the movement. It doesn't necessarily you don't have to go run a marathon, but it's getting your body moving in the morning.
Asian cultures, obviously, a lot of them have Tai Chi that's done in sunlight, and with immediate, guess what? Socialization.
Yes.
Because without socialization, we're not isolated beings. We are sort of bred to socialize and to be around others and to not experience isolation or loneliness. So one of the first things, if you eliminate by some sort of whether it's yoga or you go to a gym that has a person or two in it, that seems to actually, those connections seem to help our cortisol, antidepressive, whatever, would then get you to exercise a little bit more. So now you've had a little bit of sunlight, you've woken up at the same time, and you've socialized. And you're now probably better than 99% of the people listening right now. And that's a good start to the day. We haven't even gotten to like 9 a.m. really.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't have time in the podcast to do the whole thing. But that's a great start to your question. I don't know if that's the pathway you were thinking, Joe on the street.
Yes, absolutely. I just think, like, you know, a regular person, like, what the doctors say that these are the most impactful things that I can do. Some are, okay, obviously you want more exercise, you want this, but like, what are the musts that give me the most impact?
I will tell you that I combine on that exercise thing in the morning, which I've done fasted, and I'm fasting at least 3, usually 4 hours before I go to bed. So I'm getting at that moment, say I've gotten 7 hours sleep, 4 hours before I have an 8, I'm at 11, 12 hours. I only need about 4 more to get the 16-8 of my fast in. And that means just skipping breakfast. Now I have plenty of water. I personally am caffeine dependent, so I'm going to have a cup of coffee. 1, not 10. I have 1 cup of coffee. It does it for me within.
I think if I could get an IV, I would walk around with the coffee.
Well, within 3 sips, within the sunlight and a little water and 3 sips of coffee, I feel terrific. I actually add a little bit in the interim that, which is, I don't think this is again a precision thing, not for everybody. But I enjoy psyllium. I have a little Metamucil in water. It reminds me to take my water, plus I get the psyllium husk, the fiber that comes in right out of the shoot. It also curbs my hunger a little bit. I don't feel like I'm missing out, and I get a little orange taste with it because they have these orange tasting ones. For me, that works great. It's pretty darn natural. And that's been a consistent thing that's helped my general digestion. That's a person-to-person thing. I wrote it in one of my books early on, so I know that's not for everybody, but it definitely works for me. And it makes my fast that I'm going to get to till noon work out. I also do some resistance. There's a lot of discussion about the need for resistance exercise with aerobic exercise. So a lot of people will do whatever it's Tai Chi, yoga, go for a walk or run, swim, what have you. I definitely feel differently when I strain my muscles a little bit because it only takes me about 10 minutes of resistance training. I have a little bit of a home gym, but a lot of people can just do push-ups and pull-ups and those kind of things, little hand weights. That contraction of the muscle does an enormous amount to both keep the muscle, strengthen the bone, and I think it's also a good way to kind of wake up a little bit and have that in the feather in the cap before I go out to my day, where I may actually go to the gym at some other format, but at least I got a few minutes of resistance. So you kind of check those things off before you get going. What do you think about that, Dr.?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way.